to look at the various outfielders that are available in free agency and bemoan the first one or two or even a handful that go off the list. But I got to tell you, Jurickson Profar signed yesterday with the Braves. I'm not seeing a whole lot after him. Good morning to you. Good Friday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Pirates. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or hockey, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Penguins, the same place that you found this. Profar might have been overpaid. Profar got 3 years and $42 million from Atlanta. But Profar, what he did last year at age 32 in San Diego, wow. Okay, let's start with that. Played in 158 games, 668 plate appearances, 15.1% strikeout rate, 11.4% walk rate. Good stuff. 24 home runs, a career high. A 280, 380, 459 slash line. All of those personal bests. And all of that put together had him a number 15 overall qualified hitter in the National League. And I'll remind here that the Padres play at Petco Park. When you dig in a little bit deeper than that, you'll see that he had a 44.8% hard hit rate, which means he wasn't just, dropping them in somewhere. He had a 302 batting average on balls in play. 300 is the median, so he wasn't getting lucky. 7.2% barrel rate. All of those, everything I just mentioned, the best he'd ever done. Now, the year before that, not so great. And that's why he had to settle for getting paid only $1 million. Now, you know, and I know what the Pirates people hear when you lay all this out. Oh, wait a second. He only had $1 million on his salary last year? Wow, that means that anybody could do this. That means Josh Palacios can just break out. And it would be like magic and everybody would look at us like we're smart. Instead of saying something a whole lot simpler, which is that if you had taken any and all of these figures that I just mentioned to you that Profar had in San Diego last year, and you had put them into the Pittsburgh lineup, that's right, he's their best player. Amazing how that makes no apparent dent in any part of this process. 3 years and $42 million. $14 million a year. That's it. That's all he would have cost. And I say that's all because I happen to know that that's still sitting there to be spent. Now, would or could that squeeze you in other areas, notably, in terms of getting 1 million fungible relievers you can throw against the wall and see who sticks? Yeah, you might have to scrape a little bit there. But when you're talking about, I don't even want to say contending, when you're talking about competing, when you're talking about making your team better than it was in 2024, you're first and foremost talking about offense. And when you're talking about making the team better, really at any position, what you're looking for is what's your weakest position? What's the one that you can build up the most? That's obviously right field. Now, Profar's been a left fielder for most of his career. I mean, if you're a left fielder, I'm sorry, you can play right. He's not considered that great defensively anyway. He'd be out there for his bat. And at PNC Park, you always want to put your lesser defender in right field versus left because obviously a lot less ground to cover. Never made it that far. And it never does. You know what else never came up? The Pirates' name. In all of the Profar talks that everybody's had back and forth, you never saw, heard, or read anything about the Pirates, just like all the rest of these guys. And I'm going to remind here, as someone who's been covering baseball for a long time, that's not the sort of thing that tends to be kept secret, at least not very well. Certainly not in the year 2025. Agents want to build a market for their free agent players. They want there to be, if not necessarily the reality, then at least the perception that there are a lot of teams chasing after their client. And people like me in my line of work aren't going to print something that sounds as ridiculous as, there are a lot of teams chasing Profar, and not say who those teams are, or at least a couple of those teams. So you talk to the agent a little bit more, and you explain to the agent what you're looking for as a reporter. A little bit of a news break, Give me a couple of teams. I won't say it came from you. The agent kind of reluctantly agrees and eventually says, all right, listen, we're talking to Atlanta, Pittsburgh, and then if they really want to build the market up, say the Dodgers. Just say that the Dodgers are interested in everybody to artificially drive up the price. No, if you lie, you're going to get busted over time. I'm joking. But nobody, anywhere, says the Pirates. And that tells me, and I'll be fair in this first suggestion, that they are trying instead to line up a trade. And I will repeat for the millionth time that I don't want to see young pitching go out in a trade. The other possibility is that they're just fine with what they've got. They're going to try to find a way to squeeze blood from a stone here, figuratively speaking, from Jack Sawinski, Josh Palacios, whoever else. They're going to hope instead for their own Profar-level miracle instead of just going and getting the real thing. Yep. When we come back, J1Q.
It's Gun Storage Check Week. Help prevent unwanted access to your firearms. No one wants their unsecured gun to be used in an accident, a suicide, or a crime. Use lockboxes, safes, and locks to secure your firearms. Learn more at gunstoragechek.org. That's gunstoragechek.org. Brought to you by NSSF, the Firearm Industry Trade Association.
Today's J1Q comes from Edward, who asks, DK, will the economics of Major League Baseball implode someday? Now, when Edward sent this to me, he included as an attachment a list of all the deferred payments that are being made of late, a trend that, of course, has been started by the pending world champion Los Angeles Dodgers. Yes, by the way, I meant pending, not defending, because I'm really hoping that they just win all of them between now and the time everybody comes to their senses and installs a salary cap system. My reflex to what you're asking, Edward, is that I really don't care what happens with deferred payments. Anybody who engages in deferred payments, and that's pretty much in any walk of life, deserves the hell that they'll pay later on in that process, no matter who they are. Of all the spending that I do see in baseball that I wish the Pirates would at least consider, I hope to never see deferments. That's the kind of thing that can put your franchise in jeopardy. But I will say, since I've somehow avoided this subject, even though it's become a real big nationwide topic, seemingly out of nowhere, is that everybody's talking about the cap now, aren't they? Now, if you've been listening to this program, none of that stuff is going to strike you as news. And in fact, you're going to hear a lot of people saying a lot of stuff that's wrong, mostly because baseball people, and by that I mean like baseball experts, whether it's media or individuals who are actually within the industry, they tend to live a myopic existence. They don't bother much with other sports. I think in some cases they don't even go out. Like, not just not out of their homes. I mean, like, not out of their rooms, not out of their workplaces. And as such, they don't really know anything about what a salary cap is. When they hear the term salary cap, all they think is, what it sounds like, which is the maximum that you're allowed to spend. That's not actually what a salary cap system is all about. Yes, there's a salary ceiling. Yes, there can actually be some flexibility in some such systems. The NBA has one of those. Or you could have one that's a really strict and rigid system like the one in the NHL, which has not only a 100% rock-hard ceiling, but also 100% rock-hard ceiling on individual players. That way you avoid one of the things that's really hurting the NFL right now, and that's when a quarterback makes more than a quarter of your entire payroll. What becomes news to these people is that a salary cap system comes with both a ceiling and a floor, and that floor tends to be in a fairly tight range, usually around $20 to $25 million. And that's actually nothing, that range. Whether you spend to the limit or you spend the minimum, not that different. And how do teams who don't normally spend into that range afford it if they would legitimately struggle to afford it? Well, they have expanded revenue sharing for that. So there are three components to this. There's the salary ceiling, there's the salary floor, and then there's a tight range between those two. And finally, there's the expanded revenue sharing. And everybody ends up spending roughly the same amount on payroll, give or take $20 million. That's how you have the Green Bay Packers being contenders for the Super Bowl. That's how you have the Winnipeg Jets being one of the better teams in the NHL's Western Conference. These are comparative villages that would be overrun in Major League Baseball. Truth be told, they wouldn't be able to cover payroll for a month. But as they are, they develop a fan base. The fan base grows because they're competitive. They accumulate revenues beyond their actual markets. And everybody benefits, not just from the New Yorks, but also from the Green Bays and the Winnipegs. But for now, as I've shown, I'm just kind of staying quiet. I'm getting invited to come on to radio shows. I'm getting invited by a lot of people on social media to come and comment on this thing that somebody said or that stupid thing that Ken Rosenthal said yesterday on television that someone sent me about how the worst thing that baseball could do would be to shut down for a year over a salary cap. These people, the baseball writers who don't cover a team, but they write about all of baseball, they have been smoked out beyond repair. They are shills, not just for the Players Association, because it's not even about that. It's about the agents, because the agents leak the player personnel moves and that type of stuff that they make their livings off of directly to those guys. And they're 100% opposed to this. And so in turn are those writers. And as soon as you or anybody confronts them with this, they go dead silent. There's no comeback. I swear, I don't even remember what you asked. I hope I at least came close to answering it. I appreciate you. I appreciate everybody who listens to Daily Shot of Pirates. We'll be back with another one of these on Monday.